All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It is your host, Rob, aka B-Ball Archives, and once again, I am joined by my homie AJ. Thank you for being here once again, my dude.
What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I've had a pretty chill last week or so. So you know what? I'm glad that I had some time to watch a lot of hoops and I get to talk about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the Yukon Huskies for winning the national championship. That was a very impressive run. They buzzsawed through everybody. It was impressive. To go back to back too. So shout out to them. But we also need to talk about our beloved Spurs, who, not the best season, obviously, probably very disappointing if you want to be honest. But when you end the season winning 7 out of the last 11 and you do it while your key players are out, makes things a lot more I guess tolerable going into the offseason. So
Right.
I'm pretty happy with the way that we finished. I think Champagne looked great towards the end. Mamu looked incredible
Oh
at the
my,
end of the season. Good
Mamu was
God. Like,
incredible.
we need to sign him to a 10-year deal, give him $500 million. That dude deserves every penny that we give him. He was everything we're missing this entire year, in my opinion. I don't know if it was like just a personnel thing or what it was, but he was the trash man, basically. He was picking up all the garbage around the hoop. He was running fast breaks. He was making great passes. Watching him play, you saw that he understood who the best player on the floor was, and that was Wemby. And he's like, I'm going to get the ball to Wemby every time I touch the ball, and if I'm open, I'm going to shoot it. And that's exactly how he played. And I thought him and Wemby in that front court looked amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. It was really nice to see him just come in with a very, very selfless mindset, ready to distribute the ball, take an open shot when need be, and especially that night where he had that 21 and 12 game,
Yeah.
he just did it so efficiently. He was
Right.
taking the smart shots and keeping the ball moving, which we both know is the Spurs way. You got to keep the
Mm-hmm.
ball moving, pass up the good shot to get the great shot. And like you said, he knows more often than not that that great shot is with Wemby. So I think that there was a lot of really bright points whenever we're looking at the end of the season. We won 6 of our last 10 games. So I think that that's a pretty big upswing when you look at how abysmal we were at the
Right.
front half. Obviously Wemby was playing magnificent depoy level defense, but Mamu was playing really, really well. We had Trey Jones playing efficient basketball. We had guys
Mm-hmm.
like Devonte Graham step up for a couple games and play some big minutes. Will
Got
these
that
guys?
got that big game winner against the Nuggets, man.
Yes, he did.
Man.
That
Woo.
was really electric. Yeah, he had a
That makes
big
me happy for
three.
him.
He had a big three. He had a big drive. He had that game winner. So yeah, we've had a lot of really random bright points, but some things that really give me some optimism moving forward. I mean, outside of obviously Wemby dominating his rookie season, over 71
Right.
games, over 21 points a game, over 10 rebounds, almost 4 blocks. It's just not even 30 minutes a game is just bam. It's just mind blowing.
uh his numbers, like, you look at him when he started back in October, November, December, they just continually got better and better and better. And he looked a lot more comfortable out there towards the end of the season than he did obviously at the beginning. I think he gets it. He said he's only 15% of where his potential is, which is scary to even like comprehend. But for the most part, for me, it's what I don't want to do is have the Spurs organization look at the last part of the season and say, okay, if we just make Wimby our star player and we just get a bunch of role players, then we should all work it out. I don't want them to look at that way, because I don't want to get into the same realm as the Cavs 1.0 with LeBron, where he's the main guy and they just put like a handful of average to below average players around him, and it works. I don't want that to happen. I also don't want us to handcuff Wimby's salary to, like, in the future, obviously in the future, handcuff his salary to how deep we can go or how many players we can get. So, going into the offseason, I think we have a lot of work to do. Seeing that we won without, you know, three of our top four players. You know,
Literally no Keldon, no Sohan, no Vassell, and then some of the time it was even no Wemby, and it was like no problem.
yeah, it is really nice to see other people step up, but and obviously we could have easily packed it in and said, you know what, this season's done, our players are gone, screw it, whatever. But they came and fought like they were playing for a playoff run. So I can tip my hat to them, and hopefully we get a good pick in the lottery here in a couple weeks. And Toronto also gets a good pick too, but not too good, so we can get it.
Right, right.
And
We're trying to play chess out here, not checkers.
right, yeah, for sure. So overall, I think obviously Wembley's gonna win Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even close at this point. And then hopefully I don't know if he's gonna win Defensive Player of the Year. I hope he does. I think he should, but because the record was so abysmal, I don't know how it's going to go. But we're hearing
Yeah.
more and more people say Wimby's my defensive player of the year. I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are just looking at the stats, they're looking at the on off, the value over replacement player and just seeing how much the defense shifts when he's on and off the court. And it's just eye-popping. You can't ignore that.
dude,
Um
it was
yeah.
the 3-on-1 fast break with the Grizzlies. That's just, I mean, like they scored on it, yeah, because 3-on-1, but I mean, for them to even get to the hoop, it was like
Yeah.
you, me, and then finally Wimby went out to the perimeter. He, the I forgot who it was, but he did a pump fake and drove to the basket and finished. But I mean, if Wimby's making it hard for 3-on-1 fast breaks to happen, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we do. I hope we make some good trades. I don't know if we need superstars quite yet, but I do hope we go out and get someone or a few people for some of our guys right now.
Okay. So that just is a perfect segue into a little tidbit that I want to bring up. So there's been rumors about Trey Young, and then now even more recent rumors about Donovan Mitchell. So if we were to go after either one of these guys, Trey Young or Donovan Mitchell, who would you prefer and who do you think would fit in?
I think Donovan Mitchell will fit in better with us because he's he hasn't gone to a big market quite yet. He was with Utah, then he was with Cleveland, so not huge markets. I don't know if we're big enough really for Trey Young and kind of his personality. I think he fits in really well with Atlanta. I think he will fit in good at some high market teams. I think if he ended up at the Knicks, that would be interesting. I think he'd be great over there. I personally I would like Donovan Mitchell. I think he plays a little bit better defense, and I think we need a defensive guard more than we need offense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I think depending on who we get in the draft, like let's say like a recent mock draft had us going after Nikola Topic, and then if we get Topic, then our point guard situation, if we end up hanging on to Trey Jones, it's like we have Topic and Jones.
Hmm.
Those are our point guards. We really don't need to go after a point guard. We could go after somebody that plays more off ball, like
Yeah,
Donovan Mitchell.
right.
Maybe even push Vassell to a three every now and then. Run Sohan at a four. Maybe we have a really nice defensive small ball lineup and we're pretty quick with Victor. I could see us doing something like that.
Yeah, I think we can go either way. You know honestly seeing the way that Chris Paul's season ended. I don't know if he's. Have you seen all that stuff about Chris Paul? It's like I'm addicted to the finals, and people are like, "Hey man, proud of you, 3 years sober."
Right. Yeah, dude. And I mean
um,
I hate that, this is his first time he's missed the playoffs since like what was it, like 2009 or something like that.
yeah,
So it doesn't feel like the playoffs without him per se, but at the same time, it's like you can't say you're addicted to the finals if you've never won a championship. I'm sorry. Winning a
right,
championship is
yeah,
an integral part of enjoying the finals.
sure. And I think, but what I do want, I want to see us go after and get some veteran players. I mean, we kind of have him, but not really. And I really think that will help just everyone on the team just to have that on floor general, and also just to have someone who can just pick out like, hey, I've noticed in my 15 years being in the NBA or 10 years being in the NBA that when so and so leads with his left foot, you want to go left because he's not comfortable doing whatever. Or just small things like that. Or like when you see a guy do this, make sure you come back around. Like just some small nuances that resonate more on the court while you're playing than if a coach comes to you and like breaks it down on film. So I think those small nuances really go a long way with this squad. And I kind of feel with Devonta Graham because he's more tenured. I don't know can't remember how long he's been in the league, but I felt that when he was on the court in the last few games, we were a lot more like level and patient rather than like quick and like, oh my God, what do we do? I felt better about it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think this was his ninth season. So yeah, he does have
Right.
that feeling like, hey, I've been here. I know how to handle myself a little bit. And I feel like also he had fresh legs. He hadn't been playing that much this
That
year.
too. That helped a lot.
I think he could go out there and really give it his all. But I do like to see that the guys were hungry to get those wins late in the season, and guys like
Mhm.
Devonte Graham were a huge part of it. But when I'm looking at, I want to pull up the salaries and stuff like that. He's set to make 12 million next year. So like I just don't know if Devonte Graham is a $12 million guy when we're looking at, that's how much Wemby's going to be making next year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Keldon's making 19, Trey Jones is making 9, Sohan's making a little over 5. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know if Devonte Graham's salary fits in with that. So I think, he and maybe Zach Collins, who's about 17 mil, I think both of them could be moved for somebody that
Sure.
fits us a little bit more long term, and or
Right.
that veteran that we like.
Yeah, I mean, I would go all in for a reunion with Patty Mills. 100%. I would go even if he just is on the edge of the bench waving towels. I do not care. I want Patty Mills to retire a Spur.
Right.
And
I mean, I
and
would
I
gladly give him Blake Wesley's spot.
oh, easily. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Patty Mills doesn't paint his nails, so it's all good. Um, no, I
Gosh.
no, I like Blake Wesley's nails, man. They're cool. But I would say I would love to see Patty Mills back on the Spurs. I think he would be a huge just to have a guy that understands the system, understands the city, understands how to like maybe some people might be intimidated to go talk to Pop, and he's like, stop it, mate. I'm gonna do it. And
Yeah.
so like no, that kind of stuff. I think we really need that guy. But overall, this season we finished the same record as we did last year, was it 22-60. So I mean, we better I don't I know that we have a little bit of time, but we better come out and at least win 30 games next year. And I think, we just have to do it because Wimby loves to win. And if Wimby's winning, Wimby's happy. And San Antonio needs to keep Wimby happy.
Yeah. Keeping Wemby happy is paramount. And I
Yep.
think the way that we were winning games, and even when we were losing games, and the games were still competitive. We were playing against, you know, a team like Denver and we would lose, or we would play against the T-Wolves and we would lose in a close game. And it was like, well, I'm okay with losing to OKC right now, and as long as it's a
Right.
close game, because that means we're still competitive. That means
Yeah.
we're competing with squads that are more mature than ours, that are their personnel is a little bit more fleshed out than ours. And we're still within, 3, 4, 5 of these guys at the end of the game. And
Mhm.
our team is nowhere near complete. Our team is just barely even scratching the surface of what it's going to look like in 3 or 4 years.
Out of the other big three, the Vassell, Sohan, and Johnson, who would you want to see get moved? Who's I mean, I would obviously Kendall is probably like the number one. Keldon Johnson's probably, but I don't, I wouldn't hate seeing Vassell or Sohan being traded for someone great. I mean, if someone has to be a part of that trade to get Donovan Mitchell, I'm not opposed.
Well, right now we're chilling and we have the cap space to sign somebody massive just right out of
Mm,
the gate without having to trade anybody or get rid of anybody. But I think the guys whose contract just don't make a lot of sense for us could in the future could potentially be, like you said, Keldon Johnson, also Zach Collins, and I think we keep Sohan, we keep Trey Jones as well.
I think we should definitely keep Trey Jones.
I think Trey Jones is going to end up being that stable point guard for the future that maybe he's not always going to be a starter, but hey, our starter goes down. He's a guy that you can plug into the lineup. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to keep the ball really safe. He
Mm-hmm.
knows who to get the ball to as well. He has good rapport with Wemby and you know, he's an okay defender. He's not a great defender, but he's okay.
No, but in those last few games, he definitely looked more comfortable out there. And I think, obviously, like I said earlier, just knowing that Wimby is the guy that we're going to get the ball to, we don't have to pass it to, I know if I pass it to Mamu, he's going to pass it to Wimby, not if I pass it to Sohan, he's going to shoot it, or if I pass it to Vassell, he's going to take a crazy fadeaway. So like just knowing that you have those better options as a point guard, you just feel more comfortable in that setting. So I definitely think we should keep Trey Jones. We should definitely keep Wimby. I think he's definitely number one.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, you know what? I think we should trade Wembenyama for a generational talent. You know, somebody that is going to be a long-term asset that's going to really grow and blossom into a player we can get excited about, you know?
don't clip that. TikTok's gonna crucify you. Don't do that.
No, that's exactly what that's for, baby.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
it's really fun to see all the experts come back and kind of eat crow, and they're like, he's pretty good. And it's like, yeah, we saw his potential. Like if you watch the French league, and saw what he did, and then just see him grow into his body too. Like he looks like he's eaten a lot of Whataburger lately, and he looks like he's gotten some lbs on him for sure. So I hope he continues to eat tortillas and drinks Big Red, because if we can add on like a few more pounds, I think he's going to be even better. But one thing that I was really impressed with Wimby was he never backed down. He always stepped up to the challenge. Even when Giannis was trying to play bully ball with him, he blocked a shot at the rim early in the season. Whenever we played the Nuggets this past time, Aaron Gordon pushed him down, and Wimby
Yes.
got right back up and got in his face, and then went off for 17 straight. Like, dude, or 17 in 3 minutes. Like, come on, man.
Oh
And
yeah.
if we just have a dude like if he that's our dude and that's who we have, and he has that dog in him, like a 7'5" guy like that, dude, his step backs. I think he led the league in like step back percentage.
He did.
I mean, like
He quite
what?
literally did, which is nuts when you're talking about a 7'4", 7'5" center who's literally just pulling up and just raining threes from 27, 28 feet out. It's just remarkable. His upside is
His
the sky. And I
Yeah,
like what you said earlier. He didn't back down whenever he was going up against Giannis. You know, he met him right at the rim. And even when, you know, he was kind of getting worked out a little bit when Embiid dropped 70 on
yeah,
him. I mean, let's
he definitely
not
did that. Definitely happened.
let's not forget about some of those things. But at the same time, he completely took it to Embiid as well.
Yeah,
Embiid did not, you know,
I mean,
absolutely
he
dominate.
definitely had 70, but Wimby also had 30. So
Right.
like, yeah. So I mean, I get what you're saying for sure.
And a lot of
Uh,
that 70 was on Zach Collins as well. So
yeah,
I can't exactly say it was all Wemby,
right.
but yeah, there's clear areas where Wemby can improve, but it's just like
His basketball IQ is through the roof. The fact that he's able to not only block shots, which is always great, but he's able to block shots, keep them in bounds, and start a fast break. I
mhm.
don't think many people understand that it's one thing to send a shot out into the third row. It's another thing to block the shot, keep it in play, and run the floor right after that. And I think that's where I was most impressed with him. I knew he was going to come in and be able to shoot. Shot blocking is leaps and bounds higher than I ever anticipated. And the way he runs the floor is fantastic. So, if he continues to just progress and get better, and if we can get that veteran leadership, this team's going to look really scary come, 25, 26, especially if we still got top draft picks coming in. If the 25 draft is what they're saying, how it's going to be another big one. Obviously this one, the 24 draft, isn't going to be quite the star power, but I do feel that with this draft, you're going to see a lot of like 10, 15-year role players that are just key pieces to like big teams. So, it's not an overlooked draft, but I don't think it's going to have the superstars that we were thinking.
Oh yeah, I'm just hoping that, hey, let's get a 3 and D piece.
Yeah.
Let's get us a good defensive big that we can add into the rotation. Some guy like you were saying that I'm just hoping for a good, solid, stable 10-year vet. Like
Yeah.
that's like I mean I know that's asking a lot. The average career in the NBA is only 3.5 years, so it's
Right.
that's we're asking for quite a bit. But at the same time, I don't think that's beyond reach for where we are going to be in the draft. But yeah, there was a lot of positive towards the end of the Spurs season. Terrible start, but we really picked it up. Like I was saying earlier, won 6 of the last 10 games and was competing with a lot of the best teams in the league, and
Yeah.
trying to
And,
ruin
and we
trying to
ruined the
ruin some.
Nugget. We
Yes,
ruined the Nugget season. We
yeah, I was about
definitely
to say.
ruined their season.
Well, I don't know now.
Not season. We ruined their seeding. Sorry.
Now they get a chance. Now this is a perfect little segue into our playoff chat. The
Before we do, I got one more thing to say.
Absolutely.
Oh, one more thing to ask you, I should say. Do you think the Spurs win another title by 2030?
Um, I'm gonna say no. It's really hard to get back to that status. I don't know if we will. Obviously you look at Tim Duncan, he won very, very early on in his career. I think that we're in a completely different spot. And if it took Wemby 7 or 8 years to have a team built around him to the point of being able to dominate in a way that we're going for long postseason runs, it wouldn't surprise me. I think that we're going to be a competitive team
Mm-hmm.
sooner rather than later. I just
Sure.
think that there's a really long gap between being a good competitive making the playoffs kind of team and making a large run, because I see us being where OKC is in a couple years,
Mm-hmm.
where we're doing well, we're messing around with first, second, third in the West, potentially, but at the end of the day, I don't think OKC is going to win a championship.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I think we have the I think we do win one. I think 28, 29 season is probably a good benchmark. That would be when Wimby is hopefully on. He's going to be on a second contract. He'll be on his extension. I think that's when we have a solid team around him. Um, we're not going to have to deal with LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, like all those superstars that are. Uh, I wouldn't say they're in. I mean, most of them are in their twilight of the career, so we're not going to deal with them. They're going to be gone, or they're not going to be relevant anymore. So I do feel that with some of these younger teams, it's going to be tough for sure. But we have the guy
Yeah.
who is going to win an MVP and a defensive MVP in the same year for sure. So
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly that we have the best building block out of anybody in everybody. I just think that there's teams that have really good building pieces right now. Like who's to say this isn't a Celtics era where they just start dominating, because they're built around two guys that they're going to be in their prime balling for the next several years with ease.
yeah, we'll see.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they absolutely stomped everyone in the East right now, and what I'm saying is we're gonna have to do a lot of work if we're gonna be competing with some of those high end teams that are winning 50, 60 games.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think we just time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, moving on to a little some interesting playoff narratives. We got playoffs right around the corner on, and this first round has gifted us a lot of really awesome stuff. We have I'm just going to run through some of the matchups and
Yeah.
kind of go through some of the stuff. Not every matchup is amazing or going to be exciting, but
Yeah.
we're looking at Bucks Pacers. There was a lot of chippiness earlier on in the season with Bucks and Pacers.
With
With
that
the
ball situation.
Yes, the Giannis game ball situation, as well as the in season tournament,
Yeah.
everything that was happening with the in-season tournament.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was really really interesting stuff because you got to see that chippiness not in the playoffs but in the regular season. So
Yeah.
I think that environment's going to be there. Rematch of Lakers Nuggets Western Conference Finals. That's going to be exciting. A lot of people are going to be kind of invested in that, and who's going to come out on top kind of situation. Even though we know the Lakers are going to probably fold. Um,
Yeah. I actually, I'm gonna predict a sweep. And if not a sweep, it's gonna be a gentleman sweep. I don't think it's gonna be close.
Right. But it was interesting because AD and LeBron had a lot to say about about uh about the Nuggets and everything at the end of the season, and kind of how they handled themselves. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see that kind of come full circle again. Um yeah, and so there's a couple other things I wanted to bring up. Yeah, the Suns and the T-Wolves. This is an interesting series to me
That
because
is gonna be a
the
good one.
yes, yes, I think so as well. I think it's going to be really really competitive. The Suns, they 3-0'd them. So I
Hmm.
think this is a good opportunity for an upset this year.
Well, it's gonna be good for it's gonna be good for both squads. So it's either gonna be Kevin Durant's still that dude, and he's gonna will them to a W, or it's gonna be this is the new Timberwolves who are gonna come in and try to run the West for the next 10 years. And Anthony Edwards, I'm excited to see how he responds to this. I'm excited to see basically this matchup. I'm really excited to see this matchup. But I think for me, my number one is Mavs Clippers because that has a lot of bad blood. Those players aren't there anymore for the Clippers, but Luca hates the Clippers,
Oh
and
yeah.
I want to see him. I want to see him do some damage, but I'm also curious to see if like Kawhi steps up. Like Kawhi hasn't really done much since his win in Toronto, and it's been some time, and I think he needs to kind of restart that narrative if he's one of the best two-way players in the game.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. This is going to be a really good matchup. Yeah, there's a lot of people that sort of need to sort of change the narrative, like you said with Kawhi and definitely with Luca, to get this Clippers monkey off his back. Because in 2020 they were eliminated in 6 games, and then in 2021 they lost in that tough game 7, and so there's a lot to be said when you look at the history between these teams. And I think this year, now that Luca's scoring champ and he's looking so sharp, and Kyrie in unison with how he's playing, I don't see why the Mavs don't take care of business. But at the same time, the Clippers have a lot to prove as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, we'll we'll see. Tyronn Lue needs to do well too. I think that's one of the narratives that you kind of lose track of is Tyronn Lue needs to put this team into another Western Conference title or conversation as well as a finals conversation. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting narratives, but those are some of the more interesting ones. A couple other little shout outs. Shout out to the Thunder, the youngest first seed to clinch, or the youngest team to clinch a first seed in NBA playoff history. I thought that was really cool.
Hmm.
Um, Shout out to the Magic. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2020. So the fact that they're the fifth seed in the East, which I know doesn't mean a whole lot. The East outside of Boston has been kind of trash, but um, at the same time, the fact that they're back in the playoffs and they're a young team that looks fairly exciting, I think that's also pretty cool, and they deserve a little shout out as well.
And let's see how the Knicks do too. I mean, the Knicks are riding a huge tidal wave right now. I think they have a great, yeah, I think they have a great squad. I think Jalen Brunson is a guy that can will you away through a series. Can any of these teams get past the Celtics? I don't I don't know. I highly doubt it, but you know, I've seen crazier things.
I
So
mean, but as good as the Celtics have looked, I still feel like whoever comes out of the West is going to win. I feel like
yeah,
the West has been
yeah,
such a gauntlet. These teams are tested more consistently than the teams in the East, and I feel like whoever comes out of the Western Conference Finals is going to be more battle hardened than who comes
yeah.
out
I
of the East.
early prediction, Nuggets, Celtics, Nuggets in seven. Just
Yeah.
my 2 cents right now. But if I would have put my money on it, segue like that.
Yeah, we're gonna gamble a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna segue into no more Jontay. Jontay Porter has been banned from the NBA. He was caught
Bye
betting on
bye.
it.
Yeah,
So
he's betting
that's
against his team.
right. Well, I mean, I
I
guess
mean,
that's what happens when you play for the Raptors. You just kind of just want to bet on the other team. But I thought it was crazy that he provided injury reports. He like would include various details about certain players being injured,
yeah,
some insider information that other
yeah.
people didn't know. So like he just wasn't making bets. He was really going above and beyond to provide information to certain bookies and things like that. So
To certain Kevin's.
yeah, seriously. Um,
Well, I'm a.
yes.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't know who Jontay Porter was until this scandal came out. So I guess now he's in my radar, and I'll be curious to see where he ends up. It'd be awesome if he went to the EuroLeagues. That would make me really happy, or to Puerto Rico or something like that. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but also like don't bet against your team. Don't bet on yourself. Don't tell someone to put a whole bunch of money on you. I mean, Jontay Porter, like really?
Right.
You're gonna put 80 grand on Jontay Porter?
Right. Like and it's not like you like he made the account himself. It's like you may have somebody else make the account in your name. At least make some kind of effort to
Like,
erase the
yeah,
trail. Like
exactly.
it just it didn't seem like there was any thought behind it. And
He just
which kind of makes me think like these as sports betting becomes more and more
mainstream.
accessible,
Yeah.
it's almost as if we're seeing ads for it on TNT. We're seeing Chuck and Kenny being like, download the app, and it's
I
like, dude, it's so in your face. I think we're gonna see a lot of these investigations happen more and more often.
I agree. I think also, every season in any professional sport, there's a players association gathering or there's a team meeting, and someone from the players association comes and talks to the team. And in all those conversations, I know for a fact, along with like domestic violence and sexual assaults and all that stuff, gambling's in those conversations. So it's like, don't be dumb, don't do it. You've been warned. This is your warning, and then you go do it, and it's like, yeah, you're warned several times. Like it's not a new thing. So, I hope it was worth it.
Right. I mean, like, are you really just gonna think you can Pete Rose and get away with it?
At least Pete Rose is better on his team to win.
Well, he also was betting on his team to lose too. Like he did
Uh,
a lot of both.
well,
He just did a lot of betting, but at the same time, it's just man,
like
be
Jontay,
smarter.
dude, consult with your translator. Like you should know better.
Yes, like and there's like we were saying earlier before we started the podcast, there's no way that Michael Porter Jr. doesn't get investigated. There like
Oh, yeah,
without a
100%.
doubt he's going to get looked into some way shape or form after this. No way your
He's
little
like,
brother goes down and
he's
you're
like,
not looked
oh,
into.
he's like, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was that guy.
Yeah. He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it was my brother who's worse than me." No, I was kidding.
But I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, but now that yeah, sports gambling is mainstream and accessible, and everyone basically does it at this point in time. Especially with our generation and the generation after us. I mean, it's going to happen more. I think we're going to see it more in college too. But it's, how well can you cover your tracks? And if you don't do a great job and you're using, Jontay Porter at gmail.com.
You're gonna get busted. You're gonna get busted.
Yep.
Well, all right. Well, yeah, we're about to run out of time. That was a lovely episode, my dude. That was a great
Yeah.
episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for being in here, for listening, for watching. However you're consuming the podcast, we appreciate you.
Consume it hard.
Yes, consume. And like we say each and every pod, it is
Go
Spurs,
Spurs,
go.
Ow! Oh yeah, shout out to Fiesta this week. Let's go.
Yeah.
Boom. Good shit, buddy.